This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Cabo Jim Schaller.
Welcome, good neighbors, to episode number 213 of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have good neighbor, Dr. Manuel Peña from Pena Plastic Surgery. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Always good to share with our listeners, other people in the community and what they do. So let's jump right in. And why don't you share a little bit about what you do?
So I am a board certified plastic surgeon. I've been in Naples since 1990. My practice now is limited to aesthetic surgery, and my office is up here in Pine Ridge, just across from Physicians Regional. And I've been here in this particular location since 1998.
Wow. Seen a lot of change in the area, I'm sure, right?
Oh, man. Absolutely. When we opened this office, it was before the hospital, the Cleveland Clinic came here, and it was just a Publix and some shops and my office, and people going, why do you want to go out there?
Now we know why, right? Exactly. You made a great decision. So how did you get involved in plastic surgery?
So I'm originally from Cuba, and my father and I and my mother and my sister, we immigrated, and my father said too many Cubans in Miami back in '64. So we ended up in Alabama and then later to Georgia. Well, having gone to University of Georgia, go Dogs, I've got my
I see that.
We're in the national championships again, and ended up at Medical College of Georgia. And the first week I was in medical school, the guy who would later train me gave us a lecture on plastic surgery, all aspects, reconstruction, cosmetic surgery, birth defects, burns, trauma, everything. And that day I followed him back to his office and I said, this is what I want to do. And never wavered. It just hit me. It allowed me to mix my surgical skills with my aesthetics. So I draw and I paint and I sculpt. So I was able to do both and get paid well.
Wow. Follow your passions. That's what they always say, correct?
Right. That's right.
You found a way to combine both of them. I love that. So along your journey, I mean, there's always some kind of challenge, whether it's personal or professionally. Is there something that happened along your journey that you can kind of look back at now and help define you a little bit?
Well, I was an intern at Charity Hospital in New Orleans at Tulane Division, and they sent me out, they sent all the residents out to smaller regional charity hospitals for you get extra, how would you say, experience, because there's not that many physicians out there. Well, when the weekend I was getting back to do all my business and stuff, I hadn't really slept in like 36 hours. And about 15, 20 miles outside of New Orleans, after a 4-hour drive, I took a nap on I-10. And it didn't go well. My face got rearranged. But I was managed to catch a ride because, we were so far out, it was way before cell phones and everything. Like, I got a ride back to my hospital, and they kind of fixed my face up, and I had to take a month off, but I finished a year, and I took a year off, and I was a general practitioner. I was really missing what I wanted to do, and I actually got exposed to another aspect of plastic surgery, the trauma aspect that was dealt with me, and then it's kind of encouraged me even more. And once I got through with that and made sure that my mother still recognized me, we got back into the track, and I got into a general surgery program in Miami and continued my training.
Wow, that's quite the story there. But it brought you to where you are today. So,
yeah,
absolutely. So, are there any maybe myths or misconceptions surrounding what you do that we can kind of clear up for our listeners today?
Well, I think that social media per se has caused a lot of misconceptions because people only see the very, very, very best results that a plastic surgeon or a cosmetic surgeon has. So that's sort of skewed the needle, if you will. And the other thing is that now you have plastic surgeons who've been doing this a while. You have dermatologists who have become very, very facile in the injectables and some of the peels. And then you have a big group of people that have trained anywhere from a long weekend to a 3-week course watching their cosmetic surgeons or whatever. And everybody puts us in the same group, which is kind of frustrating because my training after medical school was 7.5 years, and we're held to a different standard. But unfortunately, it's the buyer beware. So I guess the misconception is that everybody's the same. Their training and their expertise and everything should be on on the same bar. It's just like if you went and bought a burger from, say a high-end steak place or a quick burger joint. And I know that's being kind of crude out there, but I think those are the two misconceptions that I think have affected our field the most.
Yeah, I can see how, especially, people look at the social media, HD TVs has probably done a lot to help your industry. So are there certain things that are trending or that have changed recently in your industry?
Yeah, I think that there's some things. I've been working primarily the last 10 years on perfecting some of the non-surgical rejuvenation, because living in Naples, we have a lot of people that want to look better. They don't necessarily want to undergo a big procedure. So there are a lot of energy-based and volume-based rejuvenation. But if you study how some people age, you can do that without necessarily a surgical procedure. That's a trend that continues, but recently there's been a little upswing in the other direction, saying, look, I like the way these things look, but I really want something more dramatic. So the pendulum is swinging a little bit more in the other direction. Same way with the big bottom boom of the last few years, particularly out of Southeast Florida, Miami, and Fort Lauderdale, where everybody wanted, the Kardashian bottom. I think that's decreasing slowly. When I do that here, I do what I call a Midwestern Brazilian butt lift, or BBL, because I limit my volumes to something that I think is aesthetics and that would look good for a long time, rather than something that's going to look good for a little bit, then it's going to look like a poopy diaper. So I think that the big breast boom is starting to wane, and we're getting small to medium sized breast augmentation. We're also using a little bit of fat grafting for some people who just need a little bit more or a modest amount more, and they don't want anything foreign in their body. And I think it combines a little sculpting with a little bit of augmentation without anything else. And people want to know how long that lasts, as long as your fat's alive. And unfortunately, or fortunately, our fat lives a long time. And kind of sometimes it outlasts our brain, I think. But
Absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned you were from Cuba, and I don't know if you mentioned or not, but how did you end up in Southwest Florida?
so we, like I said, back in '64, we came through Mexico, and my sister was already here through a Peter Pan flights, which were sending teenagers, and she was here for about 3 years. We finally came over. And my father, being a physician, he found a job. He said, "There's too many Cubans in Miami," and it was like a fraction of what is now there. But we found a job in Alabama as a house physician. For 3 years, we were there, and then we ended up in a state mental hospital where my father was supposed to get back to orthopedics, but ended up doing psychiatry in Milledgeville, Georgia. Used to be the old capital of Georgia before the Civil War. And then University of Georgia, Medical College of Georgia, some general surgery here and there, and including Miami is where I met my wife. We were working in the emergency room there, and then went back up to Georgia and did some work in New York City and back here. But we had done a weekend in Marco Island, $79 Marco Marriott, when I was a surgical resident. We just had a little girl at that point. And we said, man, this would be a beautiful place to live. And if they could only, afford to have a plastic surgeon here, it turned out that there were already three guys. No, there were two guys here and soon to have a third one. And I would be the fourth guy back in 1990. So now I'm the senior guy. The last one that was here retired a few years ago.
Wow.
And two have passed on. So now you can't can't swing a dead cat without hitting a couple of us.
Absolutely. I think we'd all like to have that $79
Oh,
hotel back.
I know that's the Marriott Marquis right now.
There you go.
I think that's a Coke.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know your job can be very demanding, but when you get a moment of free time, what do you enjoy doing outside of work?
All right. So about 20 years ago, it was 27 years ago, a friend of mine said, "Hey, we were watching a Georgia football game." And he goes, "Hey, would you like to have a cigar?" And I said, "No, I don't smoke." And he goes, "So the Cuban doesn't smoke?" And I said, "Well, okay, I'll try it." I said, "But don't give me anything good." He goes, "I don't have bad cigars." So we tried. I said, "This is a nice relaxing thing." So back then I got this group of 2 or 3 guys, and we'd go to different places, whoever didn't kick us out for making, too much smoke. And then since we've been going strong now for right around 22 years, and we're up to about 15 to 25 guys meet on Wednesday. And we just have a very good time because we just talk about life in general, mostly hilarious subjects, and we've got a great group of friends. And that they say that you get to a point in life that keeping friendships going and keeping that fire going of friends becomes more and more important in your life rather than acquiring stuff. And
Yep.
and that's where I've had it. So
It's about those connections you make and keep as well.
yep.
So is there one thing you wish our listeners knew about your practice that they might not be familiar with?
So my practice has the same people working longer than anybody else because we treat our staff just like I do our patients, and we want them to be happy because if they're happy, then my patients will be happy because they'll feel good. So we're just doing some compilations, and our 10 people that are on our staff have been an average in my practice for 13 years. So when people come in, they'll know somebody that if they've been here in the last 10, 15 years, they'll know somebody that's been here 20 years because there's certainly people here. So I guess it's everybody claims to be a boutique office, right? But ours makes you feel like you're at home. You show up there and we know your name, we know your family, how your kids are doing, and obviously 35 years of expertise, makes a difference. And this year I'm the president of the Florida Society of Plastic Surgeons, and experience counts a lot. And feeling good about where you're being treated and who's going to take care of you, sets us apart from most of the offices.
It's about that customer service that is lacking so much today in society. It's good to see people still doing it.
We got 2 people answering the phones. They finally talked me into having a online ability to make appointments, and I guess a few people still that don't feel good about talking to people. But I've tried to call physicians that are my physicians, and if I do get through, I'm supposed to get a call back, which sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. We have 2 people on the phone all the time. But that's the other thing that's important. Like you said, customer service from the time you make a phone call, and it's just not there anymore. I don't know why. I guess people feel like they've got to see so many patients to make the same living they were making a while back. But quality of life is very important for the patients who call. They want to talk to somebody.
And I appreciate that you still do that. So how would our listeners go about contacting you if they wanted to learn a little bit more?
Well, I think the easiest way is look it up, PenaPlasticSurgery.com, and they have a plethora of information of what we do and how to get a hold of us or anything, or they can call us directly and just make a consultation at 239-348-7362. But I think the PenaPlasticSurgery.com will give them a lot of background because we spend a lot of time curating that website to show what we do, but also our philosophies. And I wanted to ask you, just one of my favorite places in the world is Cabo. I just took my wife for her big birthday last year with the whole family, and we stayed at Los Piedras. Did you get the name from Cabo itself, or?
I did. I've been going there since 1999. So,
Wow.
and it's changed quite a bit. But love it down there. It's a great area, but it's getting more and more discovered lately. And I hear that Britney Spears is moving there now.
I can imagine. Yeah, I could see that there were certainly a lot of celebrities in and out when we were there. We had some time riding the camels on the beach, which was kind of interesting. Catching the whales out there, and we were in Las Piedras. I think that's what it was. It's right there, about a mile north of the Arches, and it was a fantastic week for my whole family. The best thing is been doing the cooking for my family for 25 years, and had all my kids there and their spouses, and I hired a chef. Man, the best thing I ever did.
There you go. It's beautiful. Beautiful being down there and having somebody cook for you that knows what they're doing. Absolutely.
It's a beautiful place. It was just really nice weather. I think it was in February. So, I mean, it was same type of weather.
Yep. Absolutely. Perfect. Well, Dr. Pena, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for being such a good neighbor. And I hope to see you out in the community here soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Estero. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpestero.com. That's gnpestero.com. Or call 239-296-2621.